Hello everybody, and welcome to everyone that's here for the Thursday premiere evening. Hope you're all having fun. So this is a story from 52 Times Britain Was a Bellend. And this one is called We Abused Some Bloke for Years on Attempting to Stay Dry. The idea of putting a bit of cloth above your head so that it gets wet before you do has been around for thousands of years. You'd think as an island nation that invaded half of the world just to get away from our own weather that we would have killed for a device that would let us stay dry without having to, e.g. invade India and live there, but the umbrella caught on in Britain surprisingly late. The British public generally regarded the idea of not getting soaked when it's pissing down as too French, with accounts saying we called people a mincing Frenchman if they were caught using one. In fact, the first man who tried to start carrying an umbrella was mocked mercilessly and pelted with abuse and projectiles, and one man tried to run him down with a horse. Jonas Hanway was a British man who just wanted to stay dry. In the early 1750s, he started carrying an umbrella with him, and to the shock of everyone in London at the time, he actually used it, the absolute Frenchman. When he put it up, passers-by shouted, booed and jeered at him. There's no record of precise insults used against him, but it was probably along the lines of the Georgian equivalent of, "Oh, too good to contract pneumonia, are you hoity-toity, admittedly quite dry Parisian fucking weirdo." He especially came under attack from people who were terrified of umbrellas. Coach drivers hated him for it, because they, quite rightly, saw it as a threat to their business. When it rained, people used to rush to get into their coaches. If the umbrella caught on, their whole business model of waiting for England's crap weather to be crap was fucked. They liked to think people enjoyed their company and service, but deep down they knew they were just a horse-drawn way to stay dry. Sedan chair carriers also hated Umbrella Boy for the same reason. Why would anyone pay to have two slightly posh-looking men in top hats carry you around very slowly like a parcel, when what you really wanted to do was stand under a dry thing? Cab drivers and coach drivers, normally rivals, united in their hatred of Jonas and regularly pelted him with rubbish, not fully comprehending that one of the many benefits of using an umbrella is it stops stuff from hitting you. A handsome cab driver, asterisk down the bottom, tried to run over Jonas with his coach. Jonas dodged the attack and in return gave the driver a thrashing using his umbrella, thus demonstrating to any onlookers how versatile umbrellas truly are. To complicate things a bit, Jonas was also a Bellend. He was a big advocate for solitary confinement and was against letting tea and Jewish people into the UK. Ergo, perhaps the abuse was justified. It just would have been nice if it had been about the racism rather than for using an object we went on to a door. We ended up using an umbrella so much, in fact, that it has become part of our national stereotype. If we had to shout abuse, and it would appear we did, we should have led with, "Oi! That umbrella looks both practical and suave. I fancy getting me one of those, you trend-setting but problematic anti-Semitic and tea-hating arsehole." Oh dear. Oh, asterisk, I forgot to read the asterisk. Asterisk, a hansom cab is a type of horse-drawn carriage. No record survives about how fuckable the driver was. Oh dear. And here's another one. We passed a law which forced most of the country to wear a little bauble hat on Sundays. This should be good. We've done a lot of weird shit to the poor in our time, but forced them to wear hats that they don't want to wear is up there with taxing them for growing beards, which is also rumoured we did. In 1571, the English Monmouth hat was going out of fashion. After enjoying a long era of being England's favourite woolen knitted headwear, all of a sudden it was so 1562. Nobody wanted to wear them anymore. The hats that had once been the favourite of lords and earls were now the 16th century equivalent of Crocs. Don't diss Crocs, I love Crocs. So what could be done about the decline of a hat that nobody wanted? If you're the kind of person who thinks the answer is, "I guess let the hat die out then," you have failed to understand the lengths of the monarchy will protect garments over the rights of the poor. Queen Elizabeth I decided to force people to wear them by law. Nothing keeps an item in fashion like a parliament decree to wear it against your will. Generous as she was, she only forced this upon people who didn't have any money. In an Act of Parliament she stated that everyone except for maids, ladies, gentlewomen, noble personages, and every lord, knight, and gentleman of 20 marks land should have to wear on Sundays a cap of wool knit, thick and dressed in England, made within this realm, and only dressed and finished by some of the trade of cappers, upon pain to forfeit for every day of not wearing 3s. 4d. Since we're already poor, this could mean prison for non-payment. Essentially, in the 16th century we had the literal fashion police, except they were forcing the poor to look shit on Sundays and making them poorer if they didn't comply. It's like if today's government decided that anyone under a certain bank balance should go out and buy assless chaps and start wearing them between 5 and 7 p.m. on pain of a fine. The law kept the hat industry going for some years, although you'd hope at least some hat makers felt it sucked the fun out of their job, knowing that people only bought them because they otherwise might get thrown in the slammer with the pedos. It was repealed 28 years later, not because it was a batshit idea to force people to wear hats on Sundays, even during the summer, but because they realised that enforcing people to wear a hat they didn't want to wear in their own homes was next to impossible. Who knew? Last one. Darwin ate endangered species like they were Cornish pasties. When you imagine Charles Darwin, you probably picture a sensible grandpa type, meticulously taking notes as he studied an exotic bird, nodding thoughtfully and saying, yes, this is definitely a science. But Darwin, famous evolutionist and naturalist, also went round chain-eating exotic species like they were goddamn flumps. He ate owls like they were chicken wings and armadillos like they were the chocolate bar also called armadillos. Once, after loading his ship up with him in the Galapagos, he and his crew ate endangered tortoises all on the way home. He only realised how significant they were to his theory of evolution when he got back to England and had a closer look at the shells, which they had been using as some sort of makeshift soup bowls. This wasn't even a one-off. He was part of the Glutton Club, a group of foodies who specifically like to dine on strange flesh, a term Hannibal Lecter would label a bit fucking creepy, to be honest with you, Charles. After spending several months trying to catch an extremely rare lesser rhea bird, rhea, whatever, he sat down and unwittingly ate one during a Christmas meal. Oh my God! When he realised what it was, he jumped up in the middle of the meal and desperately tried to scrape what was left off his plate for his experiments in what might be the most scientifically important doggy bag of all time. To be fair to Darwin, he didn't just accidentally use incredibly endangered animals as snacks. He was also partial to messing around with critically vulnerable animals on purpose for a bit of a giggle. Whilst in the Galapagos, he wrote about yanking iguanas' tails to see how they'd react, poking birds with his gun, and riding around on giant tortoises like they were a horse. In between twatting rare animals and eating their delicious endangered corpses, he discovered evolution to keep himself busy in his downtime. Oh, those were good. Thank you very much for listening and enjoy the rest of your evening. See you next Thursday. Bye bye.